Good afternoon, everyone. Please be seated. On behalf of the University, I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to you to this congregation for the conferment of degrees here in the Barony Hall. Today is a very special day in our university calendar. It is a graduation day which makes it a day of celebration for our graduates, for all the family and friends, and for all of the staff of the university. And I can't think of a better venue in which to start that celebration than here in the Barony. In the United States, they refer to these events as commencement ceremonies, as they use them to signify the beginning of a new journey as opposed to an ending. And it's in this spirit that we also celebrate graduations at the university. Now, in a few moments, it will be my privilege to cap each of our graduates as their name is called out and they come up on stage to receive their awards. The capping tradition has its roots in ancient China. It's recognised as a rite of passage and as a mark of achievement. And for each of our graduates once capped, this signifies that they are now part of a community of scholars at the University of Strathclyde. It can stretch back over 200 years to the Scottish Enlightenment, so they'll be in very good company. At the start of this afternoon's ceremony, we have the conferment of an honorary degree, and these are awards which are made by the university to recognise a particular contribution that someone has made during their career. And we'll hear a little bit more about those contributions as part of the conferment. At the close of graduation, we have a reception in a nearby Lord Todd building to which everyone is invited to come along and to celebrate. We also hope to have an academic procession over to the Lord Todd building. This will very much depend upon the weather, and we'll get an update on this towards the end of this afternoon's proceedings. In the meantime, I do hope that you enjoy the ceremony, and when you see your loved one come up on stage to receive her or his award, I would strongly encourage you to celebrate. These occasions do not come round very often, and for most they are once in a lifetime. So seize the opportunity and make the most of it. I now formally declare that this congregation for the conferment of degrees is open, and I invite Professor Billy Kerr to present Professor Sir Pete Downes, our honorary graduate, to receive his award. Thank you.
Vice Principal, I have the honour to present to you Professor Sir Charles Peter Downes. Pete Downes, as he is known to his many colleagues and friends, is a biochemist of international standing with a track record of excellence spanning a career in both the commercial sector and academia, and since 2009 has been Principal and Vice-Chancellor of the University of Dundee. Under the leadership of Pete, the university has consistently obtained excellent ratings for student experience and has achieved record levels of research funding, the latter driving the understanding and treatment of major diseases, including diabetes and cancer. To reach this present position as a world-class biochemist and academic leader, a journey was required. And as may be recognised by many of today's graduates, Pete's pathway was founded on family and friends who recognised the power of education and strongly encouraged and supported his key educational choices. Relating to the early parts of Sir Pete's life, he was brought up on a council housing development in Macclesfield, Cheshire, by a single mother on benefits. With his maternal grandparents living next door, he had a healthy and strongly family-orientated upbringing, with an outgoing and enterprising mother who provided for the needs of Pete and his elder brother Ken. As well as excelling at sports, including captaining his school rugby team at every age group, he was academically gifted and was the only boy from his primary school to pass his 11+ exam and gain entry to the local grammar school. These early years go some way to explaining the personal pride Pete takes in the University of Dundee's outstanding record in widening access to students from deprived backgrounds, as well as the role the university has played in the city's development. All of this aligns perfectly with Pete being honoured today by the University of Strathclyde, a socially progressive institution driven to making a positive impact across all sectors of society. From school, Pete first worked with ICI Pharmaceuticals at Alderley Park, Cheshire, as a lab assistant. Following his excellent school examination performances, he had an unconditional offer for the University of Cambridge. However, based on what he believes was a fear of the unknown, and despite his ICI colleagues doing all in their power to convince him to take up his position at Cambridge, Pete chose a permanent job at ICI and signed up for a part-time degree on day release at Stockport College, subsequently gaining an HNC over 2 years and then an honours equivalent degree in biochemistry and applied biology over a further 3 years. Based on his success via Stockport College and with fears of higher education overcome, Pete quit his job at ICI and took up the PhD position in biochemistry at the University of Birmingham that was to change his life. Here he conducted the initial and now highly cited studies on the role of phospholipids in calcium signalling, marking the beginning of an entirely new field of research. With PhD studies complete, Pete finally did land in Cambridge, and with a personal fellowship from the Medical Research Council. Working independently, this led to groundbreaking studies which proposed the potential mode of action of lithium used in the treatment of bipolar depression. Pete's world-leading research then continued within industry, both following a return to ICI and then at SmithKline French. This included further neuroscience studies and Pete's discoveries that resulted in the description of additional cellular control mechanisms, prominent among which was the PI3K kinase pathway, and that inhibitors of such a pathway had the potential to deliver anti-cancer agents. Noting the outstanding outputs emanating from his industrial base, the University of Dundee then made a strong play to bring Pete and his research capabilities into an academic setting. In October 1989, only 7 years after his PhD completion and at the age of 35, Pete took up the professorial chair of biochemistry at Dundee. Within 4 years of arriving at Dundee, Pete became the head of the Department of Biochemistry and then, in succession, head then Dean of the School of Life Sciences and Vice Principal and Head of the College of Life Sciences. Throughout this period of taking on increasingly elevated institutional leadership roles, he continued to drive and build his own research. Amongst the most prominent and significant research developments was the establishment of the Division of Signal Transduction Therapy, which Pete helped to set up and run with Professor Sir Philip Cohen. Concentrating on the development of drugs targeting the family of enzymes called kinases, this division has attracted almost £60 million in inward investment to Dundee, including from some of the world's largest pharmaceutical companies. As a model of how academia and industry can interact productively, the Division of Signal Transduction Therapy was also the recipient of a Queen's Anniversary Award in 2005. Since becoming principal at the University of Dundee in 2009, Pete has driven a transformation agenda, with agreed values and a culture of excellence being embedded in all aspects of university endeavours. In an external sense, Pete has also recognised the university's civic responsibilities. This has perhaps been most notable in Pete's role in the establishment of the V&A in Dundee, where he brought Design Dundee Limited, the company vehicle for delivering the whole project, into being, and now continues to serve as a director on the Design Dundee Limited board. In addition to all of this, Pete's service to Scotland and beyond has been exceptional. He was convener of University Scotland from August 2012 to July 2016. He has also been a leading voice in championing the strengths and an autonomous and diverse university sector can offer Scotland, and particularly the role universities and the quality of our graduates can play driving innovation and economic growth. Additionally, he is president of the Biochemical Society and a trustee of the Entrepreneurial Scotland Foundation. Pete was awarded the Colworth Medal of the British Biochemical Society in 1987 and was elected a Fellow of the Royal Society of Edinburgh in 1991 and a Fellow of the Academy of Medical Sciences in 2009. He was honoured by the Queen with an OBE in 2004 for his services to life sciences and a knighthood for services to higher education and life sciences in 2015. On a more personal note, Pete has been married to Dr. Elizabeth Downs for 35 years, together growing a family of daughter Amy and son Alistair. Elizabeth is a comparative biologist/physiologist who gained her PhD from Birmingham in biological sciences. We are delighted that Elizabeth has been able to join us today, and we warmly welcome her to Strathclyde. In terms of interests, Pete is an avid and energetic sports participant and fan. Almost any sport will do, but football is the main passion. Related to this, Pete played for Macclesfield Town, although he tells me with some honesty that this was mainly in the reserves, but with a few first-team appearances before cruciate ligament injury stopped any further ambitions in that direction. He remains a lifelong Manchester United fan, having been to his first game at Old Trafford, aged 9. In terms of active participation, both Elizabeth and Pete have completed a number of half marathons in reasonable times. These days, Pete tells me that with cycling replacing running to preserve his knees, he's turning into a mammal. That is a middle-aged man in lycra. There is a mutual admiration and empathy between Dundee and Strathclyde, with both institutions committed to making a difference in the world beyond the university and in relation to developing meaningful and sector-leading business collaborations. Pete has been central to driving this vision in Dundee. For the future, as Pete today formally joins the Strathclyde family, we look forward to him engaging even more strongly and in partnership with his Strathclyde colleagues. From this address, and as witnessed over many years, Sir Pete Downes is a world-leading biochemist who has shown outstanding innovation and leadership in both industry and academia. He has played a key role in establishing the University of Dundee as a global leader in life sciences, whilst his dynamic and driven academic leadership has helped transform lives locally, nationally, and globally, and delivered economic, social, and cultural impact. It is with great pleasure, therefore, Vice Principal, with the authority of Senate, I ask you to confer upon Pete Downes the degree of Doctor of the University, honoris causa.
We create you Doctor of University, honoris causa. Many congratulations and welcome to the university.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Well, I've been in this position many times before, although not strictly in this position, usually that position over there. And I thought that I wouldn't be in any way nervous in addressing you this afternoon, but it turns out I am nervous for two reasons. The first is that lovely address that Billy has just given. I recognise some of it, but looking back, did all that really happen? It's very sobering and very interesting to hear it read back to me in that way. So, Billy, thank you very much for that presentation. The second is that I learned this morning that my daughter, Amy, who's in Bristol, and all of my office colleagues are now watching this on live streaming. And whilst you'll all go away at the end of this ceremony and can say whatever you like about the quality of the presentation, they will be there tomorrow. I'm sure we'll have something to say. But I have one thing to say to all those watching that I know, and that is simply one word, and that's thank you. So, as principal at the University of Dundee, graduation has always been my favourite time, because it never fails to remind me why those of us who work in universities are so committed to what we do. And I'm sure that's true of all the people on the stage here this afternoon. It's inspiring to see so many lives transformed, for that is what your experience at university should be. And for so many, it most certainly is transformational. Now, hanging in my office is a photograph taken by the Observer photographer from the 1950s and 60s, Michael Pito. It's of a very young Nelson Mandela, long before his emergence as a freedom fighter against apartheid, his imprisonment and eventual triumph as the first black president of South Africa. And with most of his life still to come, That portrait inspires me to think of the potential of young people. And I think of this image every year as graduating students cross the stage of the Caird Hall in Dundee, and it's very much in my thoughts this afternoon. Now, we're all about, in fact, I have become, you're about to become, Strathclyde graduates today. But whilst I near the end of my career, each of you is about to embark on a new chapter in the life which stretches before you. So I feel equally inspired both by your achievements to be here in this hall this afternoon and by the potential that each and every one of you represents. So what I ask myself, and what makes me nervous now, is have I learned anything in my life, some of which was described earlier, which might inspire your choices and encourage you to be extraordinary in your lives and future careers? So let me begin with a confession. I am an imposter. Most of us are. Only the arrogant and often least qualified people never doubt themselves. Doubting yourself is the emotionally intelligent thing to do. But here's the dilemma. We imposters have the potential to do extraordinary things, to make a real difference in the world, if only we believed that we could. Now, just in case this is beginning to sound like one of those self-help manuals, I'm not going to tell you to start believing in yourselves. That's not quite my message. Because my experience is once an imposter, always an imposter. And I've experienced both sides of this dilemma. As you've heard, I was brought up to value education, but not to get ahead of myself. And no one else I knew had been to university. So imposter syndrome took over, and I decided not to go to university as an undergraduate, believing my shortcomings would find me out. Then 5 years later, again as you've heard, I took a leap of faith. I left my job, went to university for my PhD, and after that, I never looked back. But that's not because I started suddenly to believe in myself, because every step, including one giant leap into the principal's office in Dundee, was taken in the full expectation that this time I would be found wanting. The only thing that had changed was that I had learned not to let self-doubt and anxiety hold me back. And that simple determination has led me to perhaps the most privileged and fulfilling job anyone could wish for, leading an extraordinary university in an extraordinary city. As a university leader with my background, again, as Billy said, I could not be more aware of the power of education to transform lives. And that's what leads to my pride in Dundee's record in widening participation. But there's another message here, because as beneficiaries of the social mobility that education makes possible for each and every one of you in this room, none of us should forget the responsibilities we have for the communities we come from. We need to be able to help others to climb the ladder, but above all, we mustn't abandon or be disrespectful to those left behind. Now, throughout my life and career, I've been encouraged and supported by friends and family. I continued to be inspired by the achievements of my wife, Elizabeth, and daughter, Amy. Our son, Alistair, died from suicide in 2011, aged 20, but his memory inspires our family and his many friends to this day. Finally, my message to all my fellow graduates today is to show your appreciation and feel equally inspired by your loved ones and friends, by the history and achievements of the University of Strathclyde, with which we now share a common bond. Overcome your anxieties and go out into the world and be truly extraordinary. Thank you.
Vice Principal, in the name of the University and by the authority of Senate, I present to you these students. For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy for Research in the Department of Computer and Information Sciences, Sarah Ahmed Al-Bassam. Olohu hu kula oloju moke ochun tan. For research in the Strathclyde Institute of Pharmacy and Biomedical Sciences, Nuf Abuthathiria. Marina Aniceto. Muafas Hussain. Osama Ibrahim. Craig Joyce. Mariana Cusco. For the degree of Master of Philosophy for Research in the Department of Computer and Information Sciences, Ryan Gibson. Michael Sager. For the degree of Master of Science in Information and Library Studies, Ailsa Black. Kaylee Bolton. Eleanor Brown. Rebecca Brown. Ian Feerick. Rebecca Gass. Sarah Head. Nicole Matheson. Kara Madavenko. Aoife Murphy. Heather Neal. Pierluigi Santogiani. Friedrich Schaffenheitel. Marcela Serrano. Louise Smith. Juan Bu. Nicolee Trafas. Marta Trogu. Kerry Wade. Alison West. In Information Management, Maud Shoaib. Natalie Hugo. Joshua Hunt. Callum Robertson. Salone Villas. In Advanced Computer Science, Bogdan Bieladanio. Abir Booker. Jack Dempster. Alex McCackney. Vladislav Vasilinov. In Advanced Computer Science with Big Data, Paul Burns. Stephen Gardner. Maria Giraldi. Nikolaos Gounilios. Callum Little. In Digital Health Systems, Paula Gass. Ramsey Meeklam. In Advanced Clinical Pharmacy Practice, Andrew Christopherson. Victoria Gemmell. Lindsay Robertson. In Advanced Clinical Pharmacy with Independent Prescribing Certificate, Jennifer Allison. Sophia Connor. Joanna Hutchison. In Pharmaceutical Analysis, Nazar Ahmed. Lou Jane Al Obeidly. Shimeng Kao. Graham Cochrane. Rona Cowan. Christopher Wong. In Biomedical Sciences, Nawal Al-Andazi. Awatif Al-Ayatas. Abdul Haman Eharbi. Salma Al-Jarudi. Alba McAndrew. Amy Brooks. Alexandra Genova. Karawan Jubair. Georgios Karvandousis. Chan Ko. Agnes Sippo. Rachel Wilson. In Advanced Immunology, Aidan Chalmers. Glenn Haggerty. Kirsty Hilling. Scott Williams. In Advanced Pharmacology, Juma El Awaisi. Callum Gallagher. Amy Kemp. Samantha Spence. In molecular microbiology, Kaylin Donaldson. Rabia Khan. In advanced pharmaceutical manufacturing, Saidi Alavi. Mulhan A. Suleiman. Kylie Ang Shi Tu. Kara Barnes. Blair Donaldson. Sahar Mahalati. Michael Farron. Mark McGowan. Evie McQueen. Chimpe Ebetinaya. Eleanor Olagunju. Fateni Papathanayasiu. Luca Peterfay. Andrew Sikora. Methusan Sundaranathan. Batul Tebi. Isa Ming Lun Yu. In industrial biotechnology, Amy Adamson. Stephanie Canning. Caroline Douglas. Gemma Forbes. Vasiliki Georgiaki. Stephanie Hay. Balint Heiser. Magdalena Jablonska. Mary Lamont. Blair Mackey. Catherine Merrilees. Stephanie Mills. David Rowan. Rachel Russell. Rosalind Thoyers. Collins Wasawa. Clarice Wilson. Alexandros Zouliatis. In pharmacy practice, clinical, Abdullah Al-Hamari. Sultan Muhammad Al-Ahmari. Yasir Al-Hazmi. Hamoud Abdullah Ali. Ibrahim Al-Shahrani. Abdul Rahman Said Ashaiban. Fahad Asiri. Abdulaziz Mulad Kardan. In cancer therapies, Chelsea Hart. Cameron Higginson. Graham Lester. Reshmal Emmanuel. For the degree of Master of Pharmacy in Pharmacy, Nayab Ahmad. Aka Mariam El. Noor Bahrain. Pamela Boyd. Beth Friel. Mohammed Kaleem. Hamad Zafar. For the degree of Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, Eric Corson. Desmond Hennigan. Rory James. Michael Mernon. Lewis Jackson. Scott Johnston. Ewan Mason. Katie Reed. Stephen McBride. Cameron Turner. In Biochemistry and Immunology, Mark Simpson. In Biochemistry and Microbiology, Rosen Doyle. In Biochemistry and Pharmacology, James Stannard. Daniel Barclay. In Immunology and Microbiology, Thomas Howarth Hender. Zishan Aslam. In Immunology and Pharmacology, Emma Weir. In Pharmaceutical Sciences, Che Yi Ling. And in Biological Sciences, Laura Ashley McComb.
Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, and most of all, Strathclyde University's newest graduates, it is my pleasure to once again warmly welcome you to our graduation ceremony here in the Barony Hall. Quite rightly, our graduates have been centre stage, and I would like to begin my address by congratulating all of you once again on your academic achievements. Your hard work has paid off, and this has now been recognised in front of your families, friends, and the staff who taught and supported you during your time at the university. And under the lights of this magnificent venue, we celebrate your efforts, your achievements. Well done indeed. Now, in a short while, at the close of graduation, you may be asked to join the academic procession as this leaves the Barony Hall. This invitation actually symbolises the fact that you are now no longer students, but full members of the academic community of Strathclyde, a community that numbers over 170,000 individuals. The class of 2018 is graduating at a time of considerable change in Scotland, in the UK, and internationally. And there is no doubt that challenges lie ahead for us all. However, as members of the Strathclyde family, you belong to a large, growing, worldwide community with a shared ethos of tolerance and understanding, and a desire to make a positive difference. I hope that the memory of today is something that will stay with you wherever you go and whatever you choose to do in life. We will keep in touch with you through our alumni team, and I would ask that you also keep in touch with us. Let us know what you're up to, what you think about what we're doing at the university, and what you could do to help future generations of students. As graduates of a socially progressive university, you have a competitive advantage, having been equipped with the skills, know-how, and capacity to absorb knowledge together with the ability to positively influence and shape the world around you. Nelson Mandela once said that education was the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world. Do not underestimate this power or your responsibility to use it well. In Scotland, we are fortunate in having a higher education system which is internationally respected, and as a society, we are quite right to invest in it. Education broadens the mind, and it creates opportunities for individuals and for society. However, education itself does not confer rights. The opportunities that education gives each of us also carries with it a responsibility to use what we have learned wisely for the good of others. A sense of duty should come readily to graduates of this university. As Strathclyders, we only have to look to the achievements of those who have gone before us for our inspiration. To John Anderson, our founder, who established this university for the good of mankind. To the world's first oil man, James Paraffin Young. To the missionary and explorer, David Livingstone. To John Logie Baird, who did such pioneering work on the development of television. In the present day, we look to Dame Eilish Angelini, a pioneer in Scottish justice as the country's first female Solicitor General and later its first female Lord Advocate. And to Sir Tom Hunter, one of the most successful entrepreneurs in Scottish history, and a philanthropist who has used his wealth to the great benefit of others around the world. I am sure that you've been given lots of advice on how best to plan your life. Some of this advice you will rightly ignore, some you may accept, but mostly you are going to have to learn for yourself. Robert Louis Stevenson put it well when he said, "Don't judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds that you plant." Now, to reach this point in your lives today, each of you will have travelled a different journey. For some, the path will have been relatively smooth, and for others, this may have been more challenging. However, I am certain of one thing, that some of you would not be here without the active support of your family and friends. They have picked you up when you've been down, they have encouraged you when you have needed it, and many will be here today, proudly watching as you cross this stage with broad smiles and the odd tear in their eye. Now, they are celebrating today not just because you're almost off the payroll, although there is some truth in that, but because you carry with you their hopes, their wishes, and confidence for a successful career. For the past half hour or so, their applause has rung in your ears as you each in turn cross this stage to receive your awards. I would now like to invite all of our graduates to show their appreciation for the support received from their family and friends. I touched earlier on some of the key figures who have helped to create and shape the University of Strathclyde. And you can tell a lot about the values of an organisation by looking at its roots. Strathclyde traces its lineage back to 1796, when Anderson brought it into being, the only Scottish university founded during the Age of Enlightenment and embodying the Enlightenment principles of reason, tolerance, and equality. Anderson's belief in useful learning and his commitment to taking knowledge and using this for the greater good is the motivating force which gives Strathclyde University its momentum today. This can be seen in our pioneering law clinic, where our students provide support and representation to people who cannot afford legal advice. And it can be seen in our business school, named 2016 UK Business School of the Year in the prestigious Times Higher Education Awards. It can also be seen in our Technology and Innovation Centre, which is transforming the way in which academics collaborate with business, industry, and the public sector to bring global competitive advantage to Scotland. And this is a tangible sign of the university's commitment to world-class research and ensuring that outcomes have maximum benefit to society and to the economy. These represent a small number of the many innovative projects being led by our world-class staff and students in taking new knowledge and using it to solve problems in industry, in the classroom, and in the boardroom. I'm especially pleased to note we are developing our campus to enable us to do even more. We have a new £31 million Sports, Health and Wellbeing Centre, along with a £20 million district energy network, both completed this year. And we have just started work on a new £60 million learning and teaching facility in the heart of the campus, which will bring our total investment in our estate to over £650 million in the last 10 years. Other science faculty highlights over the last year include biopharmaceutical company, MGB Biopharma, which was awarded nearly £3 million for Innovate UK to take forward clinical trials of a Clostridium difficile anti-infective, which was developed at Strathclyde. Dr. Margaret Cunningham of the Strathclyde Institute of Pharmacy and Biomedical Sciences was appointed to the Royal Society of Edinburgh Young Academy of Scotland. Computer and Information Sciences students Fraser Graham and Gary Ray developed a project application with the Prince and Princess of Wales Hospice to give Duchenne muscular dystrophy patients experience of a virtual outdoor environment. Professor Ian Ruthven of Computer and Information Sciences was appointed chair of the board of the Scottish Library and Information Council. Strathclyde was ranked first in the UK for pharmacy and pharmacology in the 2019 Complete University Guide. And Computer and Information Sciences has launched the faculty's first graduate apprenticeship degree programme in IT software development, with an excellent response from our industry partners, and allowing employees to study for a degree at Strathclyde whilst continuing to work full-time. Now, these are just some of the many contributions being made by our staff and our students from across the Faculty of Science. And Strathclyde is being increasingly recognised as a place where things happen, and this is why our graduates are so highly prized by companies and organisations looking to recruit the best talent to drive their businesses forward. Our success is in no small part due to the collective efforts, talent and commitment of our staff, the 3,200 colleagues who deliver our vision as a leading international technological university, and like me, they are very proud of your achievements. All of our students learn how to be innovative, enterprising and creative, and they make a real difference when they go out into the workplace. So wherever your career takes you, always remember that as a Strathclyde graduate, useful learning carries with it responsibilities that go beyond academic scholarship. And finally, let me offer my sincerest congratulations to you all once again on your achievements, and I hope that you enjoy the remainder of what is a very special day. Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that now concludes the formal part of this afternoon's proceedings, which I hope you have enjoyed and you'll take away very many happy memories from our graduation. I would remind you that we have a reception in the nearby Lord Todd building to which everyone is invited to come along and to celebrate. I'm looking at the back of the hall to try and get a feel for whether or not the weather is good or bad. I've got a nod, which means the weather is good, probably for about the next 15 minutes. So we will have an academic procession from the Barony over to the Lord Todd, and I'll take this opportunity to invite Strathclyde University's newest graduates to join the academic procession. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could ask for you to remain in the hall until the academic procession has passed and then immediately follow us over to the Lord Todd for some refreshments. I now formally declare that this congregation for the conferment of degrees is closed.